वैदैः साङ्गपदः क्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगा ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः।
नारायणः परो व्यक्ताद् अण्डमव्ययसम्भवम् अण्डस्यान्तस्त्विमे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। वेदाविनाशिनं नित्यं ययेनमजमव्ययं कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ कङ्घातयति हन्तिकम्। We are in the middle of the various objections raised on this verse, which appears to say that the, which actually says, doesn't appear to say, but about which there appears to be a lot of objections. And what does the verse say? The verse says that the karma, in effect, that the jnani has no karma, no culpability, no, what is that called? Accountability for actions, because the jnani, in Adi Shankara's mind, who is the same as the sannyasi, jnani and the sannyasi are one and the same. And what does the sannyasi? Sannyasi means a renunciant. So the renunciant and the jnani, they and the person of knowledge are one and the same. So for the renunciant, there are a different set of rules by which they operate. So what does the person of knowledge, what are the rules by which they operate? No rules at all. That if there is one rule, that is the rule. Ko vidhihi, as we saw in the Shukashtakam, ko nishedhaha. What kind of vidhi can be there? What kind of rules? See, the rules and all apply to the person who is still thinking of oneself as a doer, as a object of action, other people's action. Meaning, I am done in, I am the doer. So the one who is subject to guilt and hurt because one doesn't know oneself and one doesn't understand that it's not that the jnani or the renunciant, it's not that the person is not doing things. You see the person having, square meals. You see the person going up and down. You see the person engaged in various kinds of activities. But here we are talking of a sublated doing. They are doing, but then they know that they are not the doer. This is what the people here, the various kinds of Purva Pakshis, the objectors in this commentary, do not appear to fathom. So there is some kind of a a resentful question answer session here. The resentful questioner. And why is the questioner resentful? Why does the jnani, all the objections center on this one point? Why does this jnani, just because they know the Atma, they know themselves as non-separate from the whole, they know themselves as free and limitless and non-separate from the source of the universe. Since they know themselves as that, then what is the connection between that knowledge and exempting them from all kinds of doing on the earthly empirical plane? That is the idea. If they have the knowledge, let them enjoy the knowledge. Why should they be special? Why should they be exempt from any kind of rules which all of us have to follow? And to that, elaborately, in the last week we saw, Adi Shankara talks about the two kinds of lifestyles that are recommended by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. The first life is for the person who wants nothing but this knowledge and is not scared to do what it takes to gain this knowledge, including giving up very pushy, pressure-some desires and questioning oneself as the doer and gaining this knowledge, dropping everything for the sake of this knowledge. It's just themselves and the sky. Like our monastic order, what we call the monastic order in the Vedic tradition, does not have, it's not an organized, some kind of a, monasticism where somebody, one is paid some kind of monthly stipend in order to be a sannyasi. No. A sannyasi is one who doesn't have a stipend. That is the idea. No stipend, no bank account, no health insurance, this kind of a thing it should be. But what happens here is that this is something questioned repeatedly. This is something questioned by the lay people. They don't understand what accounts for this special treatment of the person with knowledge. Whereas, so that is one kind of a nishtha or a lifestyle or a path, you can call it, recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. The second kind of a lifestyle is for those who are interested in gaining this knowledge but have neither the time nor the space in their life nor the preparedness in their life to drop everything and then just follow this knowledge. So for them, there is a program of deprogramming, you can call it. There is a program of deprogramming because one is already programmed to follow one's desires. One is already programmed to get ahead in life. One is already programmed to be a go-getter, even at the cost of hurting others. One is programmed to compete. The parents say, you have to get ahead, you have to do this, you have to do that. And even if they don't say that, the fact that they clap and laugh and feel very happy when the child has won something, and then they'll say, oh, look dejected when the child has lost or not able to gain what it is. So that itself shows that there is a heavy socialization based on becoming a successful person. And if we unpack this concept of success, a successful person in the contemporary world is the one who has fulfilled or who is able to somehow, by hook or crook, fulfill their desires. So the more desires you are able to fulfill in your life, you become a celebrity. Other people look up to you. Oh, you're successful because he wanted this, he got this. She wanted this, she got this. And so those are the people that, they become, as the Bhagavad Gita is going to say in chapter 3, Shreshtha, exalted. They become the leaders. If they become the leaders, the Bhagavad Gita also says, Yadyad acharati shreshtha tattadevetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. Meaning, whatever they decide to do, such people who have celebrity status because they have been go-getters, and they have brought themselves up, self-made men and self-made women. I've told you earlier there is no such thing. Even though somebody might say, I studied under the street light was given by God. Okay, yeah, there was the street light, so you could study. And then you could complain about it for the rest of your life. The voice was also given to complain about the fact that one day you studied under the street light. There's no such thing. Silly it is to say, oh, I'm a self-made man, self-made woman. Ridiculous. But still, these are the value systems that have been given a lot of priority in the contemporary world. So such people become the leaders. And if such people who are go-getters and who have set an example by getting all the things they want unabated, and by sometimes even by riding roughshod over other people's desires, even mafia leaders can be included here. They're also go-getters. Their methods are, of course, undesirable, but still, they are also feared in the society. And so then what happens? So if these are the leaders, what will the followers look like? The followers will scramble to emulate them. Definitely the followers will scramble to emulate them, because this is the example that's being set. And then and if you consider something successful, you want to replicate that in your life. And you cannot. Why? Just because they could do a few things, that doesn't mean everybody can, can become, what is the fellow in the news these days? Elon Musk. Now, everybody cannot become Elon Musk. You don't have Tesla, you don't have all these things. Everybody cannot become Bezos. And so therefore what? Therefore there is sadness, there is sorrow. And so therefore, see, since the leadership is all going towards glorifying the fulfillment of one's desires, generally seen as becoming rich, that is one important desire everybody has, because rich is equal to happy. That is not true at all. You go talk to the people who are rich. Even the rich person goes to a Swami. That itself shows that there is some lack over there. And so therefore, this is something which has to be looked at, Adi Shankara says, and so therefore he sets up these question answers, because the questioner is not understanding why these two paths are there. One for the fulfilled and one for the unfulfilled, the one who is interrogating this source of discontent centered on the self. Why am I hypercritical of others? Why am I so judgmental about myself? Why cannot I have a sense of contentment centered around people, around myself, around everything? Why is it that I am always falling short, feeling like an imposter, feeling like a loser? And so that is for such persons who are interested in asking these questions, there is a path called preparation. And the other path, or the lifestyle, the committed lifestyle, is for the one who has been able to be brave enough to understand that the sense of contentment is not at all centered on this concept of success, on the mundane or the worldly concept of success, which is the more desires you fulfill, the greater the success that you enjoy. This is the people who have understood this have a different nishtha, a different lifestyle recommended for them. Why? Because when they de-link that, when they cut the connection the wrong connection which the society has forged and is pushing down your own throat with a stick. And what is that connection? The wrong connection between fulfillment of desire and contentment centered on the self. When that cord is cut finally, then one has the courage to go on a different path, to not be a go getter, to not be competitive, to not ride roughshod over the rights, privileges of others. Then they have the ability to be with themselves, to look at what is it that's causing the pain, to see that it is an inside job. It's not something that the external has to be altered. What has to be altered is that vision of division, that vision of discontented I. That is what has to be altered, and that is eminently alterable. Why? Because you see that the I is free of sorrow whenever it is happy, whenever it is asleep. So, this itself gives us enough of a space to understand that sorrow is not intrinsic to the self. So, for the people on that path, then there are really, and the one who has understood this, there is really no rules to follow. You don't need to discipline the desires because the desires are not running ahead of you and straining, at the leash so that you have to hold on to them. No, the desires are not getting the best of you because you have already lived this disciplined life, and now there is really no reason to discipline. Just like the parents, they have a set of rules for the young ones. You have to get up at this time, you have to go to school. Can I drop out of school? No, sorry, you have to go. You have to do this at this time. This is not the time for play, this is dinner time. And this is when you're going to study. This is when you're going to sleep. And then at age 52, if you live by the same rules, I can't do this now because I have to drink the milk which the mother used to give. If you do that, then obviously something is terribly wrong. Obviously. So these rules are there for a different kind of a mastery. And when that mastery is gained, the rules do not apply. This is what is exactly the very simple thing here, which Adi Shankara tries to talk about at great length in order to make himself extremely clear, so that what he wants to show is that what is being posited here is not some kind of an elite tier system. People, what is the tier system? People at the top, they enjoy different kinds of rules. And it's very triggering because already in society, the 1% of the rich, the really rich people, they seem to play by different rules. They can get away with what they want. They are very unlikely to land up in jail even if they do something wrong repeatedly. Even repeated infractions of the law still keep them out of jail because they have influence, they have money. And then for the rest of us, we have to play by different rules. We have to follow the law. We have to do this. We have to do that. So when we see this kind of when we see what appears to be some kind of a tiered system between the jnani and the ajnani, the one who knows the self and the one who doesn't know the self, this can be very triggering because we already see this kind of an unfairness, what we perceive to be unfair in the contemporary society. But this is a different kind of a tier system. There are different rules, yes. And what is this tier system? The tier here has to be spelt differently. The one who is a jnani is not in tears, the other one is full of tears. That's the tier system, that's all it is. That's all it is. This is not some kind of an elitist thing. Oh, you are on a pedestal because you have self-knowledge. No. You are on a pedestal because people have put you there, because you have become a source of inspiration that the few people who don't want to follow the crowds of follow the crowds who are following these go-getters, they are inspired by you because they want to see what it is like to not have this burden of being tethered to the desires like a yoke on a bullock. That is why you are on a pedestal, because you seem to be contented without needing anything other than yourself. And that itself is inspiring and intriguing. How does this person spend this time? How does this person have this kind of a life? And then, so the and then the people who say, Adi Shankara says this, the people who say that, well, the what is written in the Bhagavad Gita is at best an abstraction. What is an abstraction? That you can truly live without being affected by the world and by the actions, behaviors, thoughts of others. That you can truly live like a free person without really being affected by what people say, because you have understood because your self esteem does not come from taking courses on positivity or doing something like that. Your self esteem comes from the from understanding that the self, what we call the self, is the whole universe, including its source, Bhagavan, Ishvara. That is what it is. So your self, your self understanding and the ensuing self esteem comes from a drastic revolutionizing of the concept, the very concept of the self. So what you earlier thought of as the self, the sad body, which is loda loda, loda loda means it's always on the brink of collapse, and the even sadder mind. So those identifications are gone due to the knowledge that is contained in the Upanishads and the Gita, due to exposure to that knowledge. And then in its place, the understanding of the self has expanded to include the galaxies, or the entire cosmos. In fact, the whole universe is nothing but myself alone. So then, so some people consider this to be an abstraction, the objectioner says. This is just an abstraction. It's nice to see, oh, one can live free. Yeah, that sounds good on paper. That sounds good in the manuscript, the Bhagavad Gita. That's why we put the Bhagavad Gita on the altar, put a flower over it, and join the hands together. On Saraswati Puja day, once a year, you put it on the altar and put a flower over it and say, oh, wonderful knowledge, but not for us, not for us at all. How is this possible? And Adi Shankara asked the people, are you out of your mind? Are you absolutely out of your mind? Because you are just hereby guilty if you are doing this and considering the knowledge of the self as free, whole, and limitless, as simply a distraction and an abstraction. You are guilty of selective assimilation of the message of the Bhagavad Gita. How? Because the very same people who consider this an abstraction lap up the rules very happily. Lap up the rules of, oh, everything in good measure. Don't overdo moksha. Don't OD on freedom, on the concept of freedom. And don't take this too seriously. Do the rules. Do your duty. Speak the truth. Tie your shoes. Have your coffee. And don't forget to share. Go to school. Go to college. Go do this. Go do that. Have your job. And all these things. All those rules they follow because they say it is good for me. After all, the Veda is saying, so the first portion of the Veda, which is just an enunciation of all kinds of rules in order to live harmoniously in society and in order to fulfill one's desires dharmically, meaning, according to certain values and norms that they follow and that they lap up. But then this other one, they say, oh, it is not correct, it is not true. Then if the Bhagavad Gita is false, the entire message you should eschew. But you are selectively reading the Gita and saying these rules are very good because they apply to me and they should also apply to the sannyasi. This is not correct. That is another objection that has been refuted. Then then the lame Purva Pakshi, who doesn't really have a leg to stand on at this point, comes back with yet another objection. What is the objection? Karana, Karana agocharatvat. Agocharatvat means so the self is out of reach because it cannot be gained by the sense organs. The sense organs cannot gain the self. So therefore, you cannot see the I. It's not an object. It is the truth of you, the very subject that we are talking about. You cannot hear the I. The self doesn't make a sound. It's quieter than a cat, walking across your kitchen counter and getting into all kinds of food items without you knowing. It's quieter than that. It doesn't make a noise. And then what else? The self does not. The self does not. It doesn't have some kind of a smell that you can pick up. The self is not. Doesn't have a taste. The self is not available for grasping or touch. Self is not available. The I is not available for any kind of inference. The I is also not available for any kind of a, what is that called? Comparison to something else. So therefore, it is as good as not gained. Because this is how I gain things, including knowledge of things. I gain by looking at it, observing it, objectifying it. This is too much. I mean, what is because it is away from that. It is away from all that. So that means self knowledge doesn't exist. So the person who has supposedly gained self knowledge is just a bluff. And for this they don't need any kind of special treatment by exempting them from all the rules. To which Adi Shankara responds, he gives a very nice quote from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and says, Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Without, this is not graspable as an object, but it is understood in the mind. And the same thing in the Kathopanishad, which slightly differently is talked about, Manasa eva idam aptavyam. This is gained in the mind. This knowledge is a cognitive pursuit. Obviously, the mind is needed. So you cannot say that since it's not graspable by the senses, so you throw the knowledge away because it is irrelevant, because it cannot be grasped. It can be grasped, but not as an object, not as you think, and not as you grasp other things. It definitely can be grasped. Otherwise, why would we be wasting our time studying the Bhagavad Gita? And then so therefore what the so they therefore prepare. The one path is of preparation, the other path is for gaining the knowledge, because without the mind being prepared, without there being emotional maturity, a certain growth with regard to being open to this source of knowledge, that is what the growth is. It's not some other growth like, oh, I have to do this or do that or get something. It's not some kind of unattainable growth. It's the growth where the emotions settle down. You help yourself through this path to let the emotions settle down and not question everything. and not be in a place of what is that, some kind of a PTSD, because that's where everybody comes from. And because sometimes the childhood is so difficult, or the some issues are coming up all the time, so that one is not available to assimilate this knowledge or even be open to the knowledge. So the preparation involves regulating one's emotions by regulating one's desires, and fostering a sense of peace with what is and what was in one's life, because the past cannot be changed. This is how it is, this is how it was, this is why that cannot be changed. The present also cannot be changed, except I can change myself. And so, for such people alone, this knowledge is going to speak, Adi Shankara says. And so, then what happens is that the ignorance of the self leads one to the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of thinking oneself to be guilty and thinking oneself to be hurt, suffering from one's own omissions and commissions, and suffering from other people's omissions and commissions towards one. And so, therefore, this guilt and hurt is relatively calmed down, and then, with the help of the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, it is absolutely dismissed. And so, therefore, and then elsewhere, Adi Shankara says that in the person sat down to do an elaborate ritual. He was also studying Vedanta, this fellow. And he sat down to do an elaborate ritual, a fire ritual and everything, and then was offering things into the homa fire. Swaha, Namaha, Swaha, like that. And in one of the swahas, that's why it's called swaha. So he said aha instead of swaha, because he suddenly understood. Yeah. So, because he had the knowledge of the swa, swa means oneself. So then when he had the knowledge of the swa, which is oneself, he said aha. So the swaha had a different meaning in his mind. He said, "Oh, I think I got it. Oh my God, I'm not the doer. I'm not the recipient of anybody's doing." So Adi Shankara says, for the person who finally understood but was engaged in the middle of a ritual while understanding, has two options. One is, such a person, he or she can get up from the middle of the ritual and go, which is a no-no for everybody, because the ritual has nothing more to offer. The ritual is for inner purification, and that is already gained. The ritual is to prepare for self-knowledge. The self-knowledge is already gained. Even though we say self-knowledge is a gradual, dispensing, gradual clarity and shedding of the ignorance, let us just say, hypothetically, that, that happened for this person in the middle of the ritual. And then what? That person has two options. Can go away, or continue to do the ritual just because they have already started this, but it's not the same person who did the first part of the ritual, and not the same person who is continuing to do the ritual after the gain of the self-knowledge, because that person has understood I'm not the doer. In fact, enjoys the ritual much more because there's nothing to be gained. So when there are no wants, the joy is more. No wants means more joy, more sense of empowerment. And all this, is just amazing. And so, even if this idea of the fire ritual doesn't really sit in the mind, you can take it from so many things. You can take it like a parent tending for the child. So in the middle of tending for the child, one of the days they understand they are just as though parenting. It's not that they will drop the parenting. They will not drop the child, but they will continue to do it from a sense of freedom and joy which they did not have before. So that is the whole idea with this knowledge. It's not trying to establish some kind of a tier system, because one is preparation, one is the knowledge. Those two lifestyles that are recommended by Bhagavan. So therefore, it's a very silly question to say, should I get a high school degree, or should I get a high school diploma, or should I go for my PhD? What kind of a question is that? Because one is dependent upon the other. If you don't have a high school degree, you cannot even get admission in college. So you have to have a high school diploma in order to do your PhD. You cannot say, you can't put the two on the same par. One is the prerequisite and the other one is your goal. So without the prerequisite, the goal cannot be gained. The prerequisite comes in the form of rules which the people have to follow, which those rules, the very rules which were for preparation, can be dropped, can be transcended once their function has been fulfilled. And so, therefore, furthermore, Adi Shankara points out that, that let's see here. Yeah. So, yeah, there was one more objection. I just lost it. Where is that? Avisheshena vidushaha sarvakriyasu kartrutvam hetu kartrutvam cha. Yeah. So one more thing, that he says that um, the person of knowledge, the objector is talking now, the person of knowledge, sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. This is what is talked about here in one of the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, and the objector seems to recall this and says, the Lord says manasa sanyasya, mentally giving up the actions. And then he argues, mentally means not physically. They should continue to follow the rules of the society. For some reason, this person is very triggered by the fact that some people get to just enjoy life and the other people have to do all these things. Because that person is so hopeless that they don't understand that this can be the truth for them as well, not just for a few people in the society. This is a formula for everybody, not just for a few people in the society. And so he says, the last gasp, he says, Nanu manasa iti vachanat na vachikanam kahikanam cha sannyasah iti chet. Iti chet means, what if the use of mentally renounce means one should continue to be physically active? No, because you're forgetting, Adi Shankara says one important word, sarva karmani manasa. All the actions are given up. And, oh, maybe all mental actions. No, because the mental actions are only mentioned because before you do the actions, you have the mental intention. So, therefore, give up that intention is what is being talked about here. And so therefore what then the you know so then the last straw for the purva pakshi, the last gasp is that so the self should continue to do the actions. Why? Because if you don't do the actions, then you will incur all kinds of wrong, papa, demerits. You'll incur some kind of penalty for violating the Bhagavad Gita, for which the commentator Adi Shankara points out that the very Gita that you think people are violating says that the wise are exempt from all rules and all actions, including the heinous action of killing. There is no such thing, there is no such thing called killing. There is no such thing called slaying, because such a person is impossible, will not kill anybody, will not do that. And even if they were to do that, there must be a very, very good reason. Perhaps to free the world from some kind of a terrible tyrant or dictator or some kind of a torturer, this step was taken. And so there will not be any repercussions ensuing from that. And then he concludes this, and then he concludes this, and he says that we will, the point of this is the nature of the self as indestructible. That is what we were going to talk about. And so the Bhagavad Gita will continue to study, because that is where the topic is here. And this is, we just got on a tangent of these two lifestyles, one for the wanting the preparation, and one for the already prepared, and the one who has already gained this wisdom. And so he says, Adi Shankara says, it's better to get back to the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, we will just be going on a tangent. And so the next verse is very famous and has a beautiful message. वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Vasamsi, clothes. Jeernani, worn out clothes. And the current day, what's that? The clothes that teenagers wear, called distressed jeans, is exempted from this discussion. Okay, distressed jeans are so called because they make the parents very distressed. All right, because when they see their offspring wearing holy jeans, more holes than fabric, so they get very distressed and they say, are you coming out with me dressed like this? What is wrong with you? That's why they are called distressed jeans. All right. So now that those kinds of clothes which the teenagers wear and the young adults wear is exempt. So here we are talking of normal clothes. They go through normal wear and tear. So old worn out clothes. Jeernani. Yatha vihaya. The word yatha means an example is coming. Just as one vihaya gives up, throws away old clothes. I mean, these are so old, they are not even worth taking to Goodwill. We are talking of those kinds of clothes. Salvation Army, Goodwill, forget it. Because if you take such clothes to Goodwill, you will be earning bad will. So this is not the thing to do. You can make it into a rag for cleaning your car and all these things. Old T-shirt can be turned into a rag for mopping the floor, for cleaning the car, things like that, wiping off the counter. That kind of clothes we are talking about. So those clothes are obviously not on one's back. One says, oh, already it is tearing at the seams, already this has happened, already that has happened, okay, I'm going to get rid of it. And this getting rid of it is done with a cheerful mind, generally speaking, unless, of course, there are some aberrations. We are not talking of specific cases, we are talking generally speaking. One does not mourn a t-shirt that has torn. There's nothing to mourn a t-shirt torn, because more another one will come. This is an opportunity to go shopping. It's generally seen as regarded as pleasant. And everybody likes a change. Who wants to keep on wearing the same old things? And so it is done with if not cheerfulness, an acceptance that this is part of life. That those clothes that I'm wearing keep on getting changed. Because they get old, they get stained, they get tired, they are no longer, I can no longer be seen in public with them. Okay, yeah. So these are, of course, pre-pandemic rules. Nowadays, what people wear, we don't know, because only this much of this much is seen. And if you comb your hair and look presentable, it's enough. You can be wearing whatever you want. And so like this, it's easy enough to get rid of the clothes that one is wearing when they have served their purpose. So then what happens? Having given up the old clothes, Navani, new ones, Grinhati accepts, takes on Naraha, person, aparani, accepts other clothes or goes buys other clothes or changes the clothes. So in the same manner, tatha sharirani vihaya, giving up bodies that jirnani, that no longer serves the purpose. Samyati navani dehi. Samyati takes on navani, new bodies, who the indweller of this body. See, this is a very nice verse. Why? Because it's got a very nice rhymey thing. It's nice to chant, but the meaning is very nice because it is seeing the body as a body suit. No pun intended. Surfers and people who go into the water, they have a body suit, skin tight. And so this is also a skin tight bodysuit which expands the more you eat. No problem. You don't have to let out the seams at all. It just happily expands. And then you are on a diet and then you decide to lose some weight and then it contracts. And you don't have to take in the seams and put some darts and nothing. It's just such a wonderful suit. And then it is never too hot because it has an air conditioned system of ventilation by giving off excess moisture in the form of sweat, etc. Keeps you cool. Very nice. It's a climate adjusted body suit that helps you walk, that helps you talk, that holds this assemblage of flesh, blood, bones. Imagine if the skin tight suit were not there. All the guts would be literally spilling out, and who wants that? That looks very unsavory. And so, therefore, this keeps everything intact and inside. What is to be kept inside, it keeps inside, and it presents to the world. Oh, very nice. One more body, very nice body suit. Birthday suit, body suit, wonderful. And it cools you, it heats you up. And then occasionally it is in need of repair. The first tear, nobody gives up the t-shirt. The first tear you say, oh, let's just repair it. You put a patch and you darn it. And only after many tears you say darn it, meaning as a curse. Okay, give it up. So same thing with the body. The first sign of some kind of a tear immediately goes in for repair. Happily goes in for repair. And a little, thing here, little thing there, an antioxidant here, and a berry over there, and a multivitamin here, and something over there. Something for energy, something for strength, something for not, for aches and pains, all these things. It is taken care of. So the body is the suit for the eye. Therefore, what? The eye is not just the body. Is not just the eye sense, the ahankara. The eye is not just the assemblage of blood, bones, flesh, and organs. And of course, the skin that is covering it all. So the body suit is for the one who is an indweller who can be without the suit. So what am I without this body suit? That question can come as a sudden, shock. Oh my God, I'm nothing. It's not true. Even to say I'm nothing, you should be there, correct? So that itself, that means you are there. What will you be without this body? Oh, I'll be nothing. You cannot be nothing. Who is the one who is saying nothing? Are you a conscious being or not? Yes. So the body is a suit for this awareness, for this consciousness, which the Gita is extolling us to really come to those terms and praising us to immediately go and take this as the definition of the I, encouraging us, commending us whenever we do that. So the Gita says, you are that which is living in this body, mind, sense complex. You are the body, of course, is you, because everything is you. You are that all pervasive consciousness which is non separate from everything, including this body. Body is you. Well, you are not just the body. Mind is you. You are not just the mind. Senses are, of course, you. You are not the senses. Because in order to be everything, in order to be the whole universe, you have to be nothing in particular. So you are all pervasive presence. That presence which is understood by the word is. Body is, that is you. Mind is, that is you. Senses is, even though it's grammatically wrong, that is you. Ocean is, flower is, mountain is, computer is, house is, street window is. All the is just you. That is you. And what kind of a is it? It is an existence that is fully aware of itself. A sentient existence. A sentient you. That is alive. That is alive to its own presence, and that is alive to the presence of every single thing. And that is the definition of this I. And how long does this I, which is, continue? Is now. Is it over now? No. Is it over now? No. Am I still here now? Yes. Now? Yes. Now? Yes. Let's get a measuring tape and measure the length of now. Can you measure the length of now? All you have to say is now. Come on. You can't measure the length of now because the now is forever. Now is the present, and if you are present, then it is forever. The present never is that which never comes to an end. The content of the present is timeless. Oh, but then it turns into the past. Who says it turns into the past? Well, I have a past. Okay, tell me about your past. Oh, it is not, it's not a nice past. All right. When are you recalling this past and lamenting this past? Right now. See, you cannot get away from the now. You're recalling the past and lamenting the past now. And if you make plans for the future, 5 years from now, it is still now that you are planning for the future. So there is no past apart from you. There is no future apart from the now, which is you. So that is what we call Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is. That I is existent. And it is alive, it is aware of itself, it's aware of everything else. Everything becomes evident to it. Chit, Ananda, Ananta, forever this is what I am. And that I, of course, does not apply to the body. Because if I take the definition of the I to be just the sum total of this body, then, or the mind or the senses, then there is depression that ensues. Why? Because naturally, as we speak, the body is aging. As we see, as you look at yourself in the mirror, you are getting older and older and older. This is how it is. You're getting older and older. And if you stand there long enough, you won't even recognize yourself. And so, like this is the lament of the person who takes themselves to be the body, who takes themselves to be the sum total of the body mind assemblage, body mind senses organs, etc. And so we start with here, helping ourselves to change the talk of how to talk about all this. In our everyday life, we can prepare for this knowledge by practicing changing our vocabulary and the way we talk. In Sanskrit, we never say, mama shariram. Very rarely, my body. You can say that. But unfortunately, what happens is that the orientation my body, my body, my body quickly goes to, derails into me body. My body is okay, there is still some objectivity. Me body. What is me body? I'm as good as the body. And then, the wherever the body obtains, that is where the I sense obtains. And that identification is what one has to get away from. One has to get to know the I, that is the indweller of the body mind sense complex. Now, who is the one getting to know the I notion, which is firmly attached to the body mind sense complex, gets to know that all pervasive I, which it really is. It has to discover, it has to become comfortable living as that I. In Sanskrit, we don't say mama shariram, we say idam shariram. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate. Beginning of chapter 13, where Lord Krishna instructs Arjuna, this body is a field of experience. This body is a field. This mind is a place of experiences. These senses are a place where things are cognized. And who am I? Kshetrajna, the knower of this place. This place called the body, this place called the mind, this place called the assemblage of the body, mind, sense complexes. Complex. So there is a difference between the field and its knower. Because if I firmly place myself as the field, then I am acted upon. Then I am subject to all kinds of limitations. But if I place my identity in the knower of the field, I can enjoy the field. There is some inner space between the observer and the observed. So we can practice by talking about the body as this body. When you talk to friends, how are you doing? Oh, I'm very sick. This body appears to have some difficulties. This body is not blessed today. And then instead of saying, what is that? Sometimes we say, oh, I cannot even think. I'm feeling I am foggy. You're not foggy. Even when you say you are foggy, you're the observer of the fog. So we put it exactly how you experience it. I observe that the mind, not even me mind. I am not very sharp today, no. I observe that the mind is not at its best today. I am sad. I observe a depression coming on and appears to be threatening the mind. I observe the anger that is threatening my sanity. Like this, you start to talk. These are all small ways. You start to talk like that to yourself. You alter the thought when the thought comes the other way. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm hungry, I'm hangry, all these things. You change that lingo, and then you start talking like this to the next person too. This is not about a sense of dissociation. It's not like you have left the body behind and then you are here. That's not the idea. But just a little objectivity. Body is, of course, you, because everything is you. How can the body be any different, any separate? Body is you, but you are not this body. You are much more than this body. Mind is you. You are much more than this mind. And then with this kind of a practice, plus the study of the Bhagavad Gita, a certain objectivity develops. One doesn't freak out with one more new symptom that one encounters with regard to the body. Oh no, it's all gone. Oh no, this has happened. Oh no, I observed this. Like this woman and her husband came to see me and they were very distressed. They said, till yesterday, the husband said, her blood pressure was just fine. And today, she has shot up. The blood pressure has shot up. Till yesterday it was fine. That is what the body is. Till yesterday it is fine. Till yesterday the t-shirt did not have a hole. Today there is a hole. And this is terrible. Yeah, but that's how it is. So you can't ask the t-shirt the question, how come till yesterday there was no hole? Today there is a hole. Well, that's what it is. And fortunately, it doesn't matter if the t-shirt or the body t-shirt has a hole, because the idea is to put the letter W in front of the hole. You are the whole. When you understand that, then any number of holes do not matter. You may patch them up because you want to keep the body going, and after all, you want it to let it be comfortable, let it have some quality time, quality life. Let it do that. Let it be okay. But you don't really mind it so much when the eye is firmly placed where it needs to be. Then more we'll see about this next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.